You should be aware that young women in today's society are commoditized, and the majority of them are having a harder time making ends meet and getting men to commit. It goes without saying that most women in today's society will find it harder and harder to convince men to commit to and take care of them over the long term when these women are not marriage material, mother material, or companion material to the majority of men. This makes it damn near impossible for a man of means to take the women of that generation seriously when they are not stable individuals and they have no problem selling their wet vice grip to make money on the side. Not only that, but a large chunk of Generation Z either doesn't want kids or they are willing to put it off like their previous generations did. If you take a look at Generation Z, you will notice that a massive chunk of these people are lost and are suffering from mental health issues. This problem with Gen Z led us to this article by Forbes titled "Gen Y Women Postpone Motherhood Because of the Challenges Working Millennial Monks Encounter." Tap the like button and let's see how these women are struggling now that men aren't committing anymore. The largest generation, savvy and practical, Gen Z surpassed the millennials a few years ago. The skills and attitudes they have acquired in the brief span of their lives will impact the future of work. But it may not be in these new households that represent a significant share of the growth in total consumer expenditures each year. However, their career aspirations are driven by watching how millennial moms are being treated by the American government and corporations, and their conclusions will cause a chain reaction. Generation Z is increasing the female labor force participation rates while simultaneously generating new demands for housing, consumer appliances, cars, and other goods needed to start a new adult life. When asked why they didn't want children, 27% of respondents said it was because they didn't want to be parents. 89% of the women polled said they enjoy the freedom that comes with not having children, and 70% said they value their alone time. All right, gentlemen, so that last part right there sums up the rooster carousel that we've been seeing for years now. The attitude that these young women have of putting off stable relationships with men early on in life is what has been the downfall of the previous two generations. It's trite to say that many men in that generation have given up on life and aren't even interested in relationships anymore. If I'm being honest with you guys, the moment that women decided to beat down men and do as they please with their bodies without caring about the long-term consequences is when men decided they were done with relationships. Generation Z men are a generation that grew up huddled around their phones rather than this is a problem, because if generations delays motherhood, industries that are counting on further strong growth will be forced to cut back on production and deliveries from suppliers. This in turn will cut back on revenue for America's small business owners, which in turn will affect everyday people. This has occurred in the United States in the past, specifically during an early baby bust that occurred between the end of the baby boom in the late 1970s and the beginning of Generation X. According to Work Labs, this phenomenon was a driver of the recession that occurred in the 1980s. The research division of the Mom Project found that in the absence of a federal policy mandating paid parental leave, strong benefits and employer support are of the utmost importance to working parents. Parents-to-be are paying attention to their managers, company culture, and human resources departments to see how existing parents in the company are treated. In some cases, they use this information to decide whether to stay with the organization or to keep going on their way to becoming parents. If they don't see existing parents in their office being rewarded for their authenticity and transparency, why would these parents feel any more comfortable doing so? They aren't mentioning that when the mothers died, the early terminations of womanism, since men aren't getting into relationships and marriages anymore, it's unlikely that you'll see more kids being born. This article should have addressed that, but they're shuffling. In my opinion, when a man and a woman are living together and in some sort of commitment, the chances of getting pregnant increase. It's challenging times like what we're seeing now in fewer and fewer marriages. That is what has caused the declining birth rate, not any damn workplace conditions in my opinion. And since men aren't getting into relationships and marriage, it's as simple as that, but the fact that men are opting out of relationships and women want to be independent is what's pushing motherhood to its breaking point. Let's continue with some more findings from the Ruby Home survey. Positive mental health is ranked as the second most important goal by 97% of Generation Z members. 60% of them cite mental health as one of their reasons. Gen Z women are suffering from mental health issues, which should be a big reason to be careful when selecting a mate in that generation. Not only that, many of these women cannot function without taking some sort of medication, which will change how they act and make decisions on a daily basis. So I want you to be very careful. You could be dealing with a person that has mental health problems. So I want to tell you according to the results of the study about motherhood in 2022, even generations working mothers who already have children aren't sure if they want to have more kids or not. More than 27%, compared to just 22% of skeptical millennials. Some say it's because of their jobs that 40% of women feel frustrated and want to combine work and motherhood, but they need a change at work to make that possible. They'd also say that their managers could help them more as mothers if they talk to them more about their needs outside of work. I suppose the United States does not help all mothers easily exit and re-enter the workforce. To support us, like this video, please subscribe, and make sure to send this video to the person who needs to hear it the most.